Hey, welcome back to the Legal Counsel Podcast. This is your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a moment to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is sponsored by Tona Law. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. Tona Law is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. Do you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals? Check out tonalaw.com. Mention again the Legal Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. Keith Roman, you mentioned something I've heard you say either on LinkedIn or on another podcast, the benefits of outsourcing tasks to focus on higher level customer service. And man, I love that. I love that because a client-centered law firm is a top-tier law firm. And people would say, oh, that's something that I'm never going to pay attention to. It's one of my top priorities, and I love that. So you want to discuss the right way to approach outsourcing to free you up and why the focus on customer service is so important.
Yeah. So let me start with that. The focus on customer service. It is really hard to compete in the market on I am the best lawyer, because how the hell does anybody ever know, right? And so I don't compete on that. I compete on you're going to have the best client service experience with my firm than you have not only with any law firm, but with any business that you come into contact with. And we do that in a couple of different ways. Number one is automation. So even before the outsourcing is automation. So we use LeadDocket and CasePeer and Hona to do three different things. Like LeadDocket makes sure we know where the case is coming from, and really quickly we're getting back to anybody that calls or fills out a web form. Because the number one thing in a personal injury firm is getting back to somebody really, really quickly and moving them to the next step, whether that's I can help you or I can't help you or I need some more information. And then with CasePeer, we've got our whole case map or case plan planned out. So any auto accident case that comes through the office, listen, yes, every case is a little bit different, but they all pretty much rhyme, right? And so the processes are going to be exactly the same. And so now, rather than having a paralegal or an assistant who's got to remember all of the things that happen in any given case, right? They just get tasks, and either you do them or you don't do them. And we have accountability around how long did it take for those things to get done, or did they not get done? And then the third one is Hona. I don't know if you guys use that, but they describe themselves as
We've looked at it. Yeah, we've looked at it. Yeah.
So they describe themselves as Domino's pizza tracker for your legal case. Every time your case moves to a next stage, the client gets a little push notification with a message from you about what happens in the demand stage and with frequently asked questions and things like that. And I met Matt McClellan, who's one of the founders of that company, down at National Trial Lawyers a couple of years ago. And I was doing this anyway. I had shot these videos of like, here's what happens in a demand stage. Now we're negotiating your case. Here's what to expect next. And we'd uploaded them to Vimeo, and we were texting them manually to clients. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. And so what those three things do is now we have standardized the operations in the case. And the last one, the Hona, is in addition. It is not a replacement of your team reaching out and saying, here's what's going on in the case, but it is another place for them to look. Because listen, it's stressful when a lawyer calls you about your case to tell you what's going on, and you don't internalize everything that they said, right? And so having a FAQ page and having a set of videos that they can go back and look at after we get off the call, that makes sense. That reduces the number of calls that come back, and it reduces the number of questions that are coming back.
I just want to go to are there practical steps that a lawyer can make to their practice to enhance client service? Just give some takeaways for people listening to this, like empathy-driven customer service.
Whew, so the easy one is call your clients.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
Easy?
Yeah, I mean, that's because, listen, what is the most common complaint about lawyers is they don't call me, right? Communication sucks. The case took longer than I thought it would. And then the third one, I think, is like expectation mismatch between what we thought was going to happen and then what the actual result is. And so if you can focus on narrowing those gaps, the primary thing, and it's hard to get younger people to do this, like pick up the phone.
I know.
Don't send an email.
Jules, write that down. Write that down, Juliet.
Don't send a text. Pick up the phone. Yeah. I think Marco Brown does this really well. That rule where every Friday he has the lawyers call all of the clients, right?
Yes.
And just check in. And even when there's not an update. So, one of the things that comes up in our little CasePeer tickler is every 30 days, You have to have some kind of update, even if nothing has gone on. Hey, I just want you to know we didn't forget about you, right? We're waiting for this to happen over here. And as soon as it does, we're moving you on to the next step. So picking up the phone is, I think, an important one. Expectation setting is really important. And in injury cases, clients want to know that way too early, right? And what's my case worth? It's the first time I've ever talked to you. I have no idea what your case is worth.
Right.
But one of the things that we do is we send a written evaluation to the client before the demand goes to the insurance company. Just, hey, here's what I think it is. Just so you know, it's not like the insurance company offered you $25,000 and I think that's pretty good. Let's see if we can settle for 27.
Right.
Let me draw the circle first and see if they hit the target or not. So client expectations, communication. Yeah, I think those are the two big ones.
Listen, you are speaking my language. I will tell you, just to back that up again, for anybody who's listening to this, hopefully they're in your masterminds, because I stumbled upon this thing that I did out of necessity. I had a lawyer leave. He was a 20-year litigation attorney, never tried cases, but he left, and I started auditing files monthly. And man, when you get back in your files, you go, oh, I'm glad I went back into this file. I found a lot of 7-figure files. So then I created a critical case unit. I had about 75 files, critical case. I had been marketing. I shifted all my marketing to premises liability. We're bringing the bell on premises cases now. And so I form a critical case unit, put my top 75 files in there, and I hire a trial lawyer, like a real trial lawyer, right? So two things I could have done: not learn from my past mistakes and just reassign the files and not worry about the client. Or I sat down and I said, if I was the client with this big case, what would I want? I literally am still calling all 75 clients. I've been calling 1 to 2 every time on my way home from work. It takes me about an hour to get home because of traffic in Long Island. I will tell you, it has been the best thing I could ever do. I'm not delegating those calls. I'm making them myself. And I'm like, look, here's why I'm reassigning your file. My most complex, most valuable, most extensive litigation files are going to be assigned to the trial lawyer with 40 years of experience and 100 verdicts under his belt. And this is his paralegal. It seems like a lot of change. What are your thoughts? And man, dude, the response has been overwhelming. Not only are they thrilled to hear from the guy whose name is on the door, what does it really take him? A half an hour, I do 2 calls. Clients are thrilled. So in a month, I'll be through all my critical case reassignments, right?
Well, because how do most firms handle that? Like at the most, it's a letter or an email saying, hey, I'm the new person on your file. At worst, they call looking for Steve, and Steve left 3 months ago, and the receptionist goes, he doesn't work here anymore.
Yeah.
Let me look in the system and figure out who's supposed to be handling your case.
And I learned that lesson the hard way. That's why I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this, And I think it's a mindset thing too. Like a lot of attorneys don't respect their clients. I think a lot of personal injury attorneys, especially because they're overworked, they're overstressed. They don't have business and staffing systems like our businesses have. But that is the unique opportunity. I think that what you said it's crazy that something so basic as pick up the phone.
I love that you said that, because I think that's, the temptation with AI and automation is to AI and automate and offshore all of this stuff. And the doing of the work, yes, absolutely. But what your business is built on is your relationship with people. And so keeping that first and foremost, and you're doing a smart thing by making you the one that calls, right? Hey, Tom is still your lawyer. I just have this guy doing the work. Yeah. I hope people, if they've made it this far in the podcast, like, yes, pick up the phone, because that connection is what most businesses are failing at these days.
Yeah. And it's very sticky because these clients, when I'm hanging up the phone, they're like, thank you so much. Quick break to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is supported by Tona Law, a modern law firm built on integrity and innovation. Learn how they're changing the game at tonalaw.com. Attorney referrals accepted from across the country. You'll see what it's like when you send us a case. You'll have some happy clients. Adam Rosson.
Our goals are to bring suits to criminal defense, have a big, powerful team, be politically powerful among the players, right, in the game. That includes the judges who are up for re-election, the prosecutors, right, the public defenders. Just make sure that we are strong and powerful and that we have a voice, not for me or for the team, but for our clients, and make sure that we bring a Ritz-Carlton level of service to our clients. And I always say that we're relationship builders first and community builders second. And how we do that is through exceptional criminal defense.
one of the things I talk about a lot is self-awareness, right? And,
okay, great.
And so I had a huge epiphany going through some coaching exercises. I went from an iteration of like, what was a goal for my law firm? Well, I want to be a X-figure law firm, 8-figure law firm, right? But then I realized the money is secondary, to be honest with you, because I want what's best for my clients. One of my core values, my top core value is superior lawyering. That morphed into, I'm not a personal injury attorney. I'm a personal injury trial attorney. And so for years, I got complacent because you can make a lot of money
settling cases
and not have to make yourself work all that hard. But that's not what's best for the client. And I came from the trial world. I tried cases. I tried a fair amount of cases. And what I realized is I got to give everything I have to these clients. And so do the lawyers in my organization. And so when we rolled out the core values and the cultural documents to everybody, and all we preach is the core values. So my biggest needle mover and doing well, doing good. You said, well, what is the role of doing good? I came to the epiphany of doing better, right? I wanted to do better work for the clients. Like the other night, I was working till 8:30 on a case. The trial's coming up next week. I don't have to work till 8:30. My trial guy and I were on the phone with the client. Case got put to bed at like 9 o'clock at night. I was up since 4 a.m. and I've been working on this case for weeks, months.
Yeah.
And it got put to bed, the right result for the client. The client is still texting me, thank you. I slept good for the first time in 5 years. So yes, doing good matters, right? You want to go out into the world and do good. Bare minimum, do no harm on a regular basis.
No harm. And
right. But if you're in a position where you're privileged to have a license like I am, right? As lawyers, we're privileged. We have access to a system that very few Americans understand, have access to. Like you can't go in and represent yourself in court. We're privileged to do that for people, right? Don't take that for granted. Don't get complacent. Don't get lazy. For me, the biggest needle mover was realizing how gifted and blessed I am to have that privilege to serve, like you said, serve others, and then do it every day with the same level of intensity. You're tired, you show up anyway, you do it. You leave everything on the mat for that client. So that's kind of been my philosophy.
That's a great answer.
If the business is the living, breathing thing, my North Star is what is the best interest of the client? And I had an epiphany. I'm working on a hellacious wrongful death case. If that was my family and I was dead, what kind of lawyering would I want my wife and my daughter to get? Right? Mm-hmm. I want to be that law firm. Mm-hmm. That's the law firm I want to be. So I built the whole vision of the firm around that need. What kind of law firm would I hire if I was grievously injured? I was dead. What kind of law firm would I hire on the no-fault collection side? I own a business. If I had $1 million in uncollected receivables that the carriers were jerking me around on, what kind of service would I want to receive from the law firm? And that's the standard I set for my no-fault division, right? So the North Star for me is what does the client need? Mm-hmm. What does the client need? Not the client experience. What are the needs of the client and are they being met? Right? Some client needs are going to be unrealistic, and then we have to have a conversation about setting expectations. But for the most part, my default is to put myself in the shoes of that client, right? And I'll give you an example of that. I have 2 clients, very serious injury, multiple surgeries. One I'm talking to in the morning on Monday. I say to her, look, they're stuck on the number. We're going to go forward. I think you're being reasonable in your expectations. You're being reasonable in not taking an unrealistic view of what the case is worth, and they're not paying what you want. So we mark the case ready to go forward with litigation and ultimately go to trial. Sure enough, they call back and we have a meeting of the minds on resolution, right? Okay. I have another case that is marked for trial. We're ready to go to trial and I'm spending tons of money on experts and all of that. And there's a last minute mediation right as we're getting ready to go into pick a jury. There's a last minute mediation scheduled at 6 o'clock at night. Now I already in my head know I got up at 4:30 that morning. My trial guy is going into the mediation and the case didn't resolve till like 8:30, 8:45 at night, right? Did I want to work till 8:30 at night? No. Did I do what needed to be done? Because if I was the client, that's what I would want. Hell yeah. Right. And that's not a big deal. Some firms, it's a big deal. Lawyers are like, I don't want to work weekends. I don't want to work nights, but okay. But if you were the client, what would you want? For me, my North Star is this. If I'm the injured person with the worst injuries imaginable, grievous injuries, you're dead, or brain injuries, would I want my wife to hire my law firm knowing the stakes involved for my family and what I know intrinsically about my law firm? And if I can't get out of bed every day and answer that with a resounding yes, that's an issue. That's a big issue.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And here's the problem, right? You work in the law firm. God forbid you were in the client's place. Can you answer that question? This is the law firm I would want to hire, right?
Yeah,
so if everybody
absolutely.
in your organization doesn't understand that, you have to personalize that because that's our organizational North Star.
Yeah. And that's why I'll always refer family members, friends, anybody over here.
No, I know. And you have, right? You have.
Mhm.
Imagine though, if you did that and then you see them at Christmas and they're like, yo, man, I haven't heard from my lawyer in like 6 months.
That'd be embarrassing. I'd be like, ugh.
Right? And listen, I know law firms.
Yeah.
I know people that work at law firms, non-attorneys, that refer their cases to other law firms. So if you're a lawyer listening out there, that'll happen, right? That'll happen. Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by Tona Law. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. Tona Law is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out tonalaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you.